All right, well, hey guys, let me start over. I've been out here 15 minutes filming in time lapse. It's completely wasted for dialogue. There's no audio with it, so I'm going to start over. Wow, where to begin? So this little project is I have brought a knife to a gunfight. My backhoe is awesome, but this really is a job for an excavator or a dozer, and I know that, and I knew that when I started. But I already had the backhoe, I own it. It needs to earn its keep, and so we're going to use it. And so basically what you're seeing me do is every couple of hours, or excuse me, every couple of days, I'll come out and I'll spend a couple of hours, work right up till dark. You know, maybe a little past it, depending on the weather, if the moon's out or not, and fall a couple of trees. And so what I've been doing is, well, pretty much you see behind me, this is where we started. And so all of this, everything, you kind of see the dirt area, that was all trees. Every bit of that was just dense as it could be. But I wanted to open that up. We're going to be making a fast left-hand turn right here, and we're going to head right for the fence and turn left just on the other side of that big pine tree. So that's going to be a left-hander. We're going to probably come up here somewhere and turn back. I know this is my junk. I'm showing the world my junk pile. This is where the snakes are living. There's a den of them out here. This spring I had 6 sheddings in this area, and that's 7 sheddings too many. So when it gets freezing cold and they're dormant, all of this is going to go away. So don't look at my mess. But until then, I'm going to work on all of this. And so we've opened all this up. We're going to have the tracks going to come around here in this direction. This is going to be a long sweeping left-hand turn. We're going to go downhill. I like to turn left. I think that's a right-handed thing. I think if you're right-handed, I think you just have a natural, comfortable, high rate of speed is what I'm talking about. A fast turn, I like to turn left. I don't know. I lean better that way. I don't know. I can't tell you why. But anyways, this track is going to be counterclockwise because of that. So the plan is we're going to make a hard left, come out of here. Remember, we're going that direction. It'll swoop back down into here, into this area. We'll come around. We'll come back up like a big U, and then we're going to pop out on the other side. We'll go through this areas here where the trees are all stacked up. I've got a friend of mine. He's coming and taking the load out. He's in the timber business, and so he'll come and he's taking 2 loads out about this size already. So as you see, it makes quite a bit of mess. And so I'm on 5 acres, and that's, you know, it's a good size. Of course, I wish it was 10, but you know, that's how it is. When I first moved here, I was the first one here, and so I could burn, and it wasn't a problem. But now I've got neighbors, and I would just feel awful if something happened. If you know, ember jumped the line and got on somebody's barn or house or something. I just don't want that. So I'm going to spend my money in having it hauled off and not burning it. I was going to buy a root rake for my tractor. And I thought, well, instead of spending that, let's see what I can do first. And I'm really pleased with the outcome. So far, it looks, this was all, grass was 4 foot high. There was trees everywhere. It looked like this. I mean, it was just as dense as it could be. So I'm really pleased with how well it looks. You can see how dry it is. Look at that dust. It hasn't rained here in probably 6 weeks. I know we just had a major hurricane south of me, but that was 5 hours south of me. And so I didn't get a drop, not a single drop of that. I'm in the North Florida area, in the Panhandle they call it, or the trigger area, you know what I'm saying? If you look at Florida and you think it looks like something else. But what we're going to do here is, this is an original trail. We're going to come down through here. We're going to make a kind of a sharp left here and cut back into this new area. My goal is not to cut everything down that's here. My goal is just to make a nice track area. I want to push the snakes back further away from the shop. I had 2 in the shop this spring. 18 years of living here, I've never had a snake in the shop. So that's what spurred this. Like I said, this is the second time I filmed this, so I'm trying not to repeat myself. But I know my backhoe is really, I'm undergunned here. I need about 100 more horsepower and about 20,000 more pounds of counterbalance, but it's doing what I want it to do at the pace I want to do it. So that works out pretty good. I did have a guy come out and give me a quote. He quoted me $5,000 an acre to clear it and $3,000 to haul the equipment in and out. So it would be nice to be able to do that, but that's just not my intentions. This is going to be a pretty good left-handed turn here. This is the longest straightaway we have to work with, and if you look really close, way down there, there's a fence line. It's about 1,800 feet. It's going to be a left right here, keep on my property, go up in here. We'll kind of do a chicane around that little grouping of trees and then cut back into the new area. But as you see, I've been running the perimeter here for years. Got some beautiful trees. These are live oaks. That one's dead, so watch out for that. But look at this one. See how the somebody's old hunting stand they put in here? See how the tree grew around it? Yeah, that limb recently came over here. We just lost it probably last year. But this tree is good. But that's a live oak. That's what most of these are that go up and fork over like that. I'm not a big tree guy. I don't know a lot about trees. I know I like them. I know it takes a long time for them to grow back if you cut them down. So I'm trying to be mindful of that. But this has always been a nice little run right through here. Like I said, about 2,000 running feet. You can get just about into fourth gear before you need to slow down to stay on my property. Seen some pretty good sized deer too come through here. They've already been moving. There's turkey comes through here pretty often. This is the back of my property looking in, so you can kind of see it's a little lighter here where the sun's coming through than it is here, and that's just where we've coped out the middle area for the track. And so 18 years I've lived here, and I really never did anything with this property. I used it as a buffer. Behind me is about 500 acres that I was always concerned about was going to get developed. A bunch of people were going to move in and make a bunch of noise and that kind of thing. It's never happened. And I guess I just got to the point where it's my land. I should use it the way I want to, and quit worrying about what other people are doing. So that's what I'm doing. So this is going to be what I want to do with it now for a while, and it's use it for something instead of it just sitting here. But this has always been fun. So when Sarah was little, we would come through with go-karts here, and so I did kind of two passes, and so this is where we would pass one another. And then when she got a little older, I dug this out over here and I made it to where it would hold water. Water naturally runs. This is all uphill, as you can see. It's not a big hill, but it is uphill. Water runs down through here naturally, and I diverted it here and I caused it to pool up, and we made a little mud hole. And so that was fun. She enjoyed that. We'd go through there and splash in the mud. But it's good land. It sheds really good. We don't have a water issue here. Tree's dead. We got a woodpecker problem though, apparently. You see all these holes in these trees. A lot of them are dying off. But I was saying on the earlier time I filmed this, I've walked the property twice now to get this to y'all. I had pine tree beetles. If you're familiar with them, they're nasty little critters. They fly in a swarm, and they came through about 4 years ago and just demolished my neighborhood. My neighborhood is actually a planted pine farm. The people planted pines to harvest for the pulpwood industry. And so what they would do is, once the trees, and it's varies, so it's not set in stone or anything, but what would happen about the first 10 years of growth, they would come in and they would harvest the trees, and then they would only harvest one. The trees were planted in rows, and so they would harvest one row, and they'd skip a row or 2 rows and then harvest the next, and that would be their pull for that year. And then they would come back and they would do every other row and so forth, and then till the last season. So they would probably harvest 3 times that way. I'm sure not every farmer did it that way, but that was a common practice. But what happened here was this was actually sold off as a neighborhood in divided up lots, and I have a 5-acre lot. And so they have come through and they harvested these pines twice. And so there was rows of pine trees, very well heavy, mature pine trees. Really, they should have been cut a long time ago. This strand of pine tree is really not supposed to live more than 20 years. And so these pine trees are about twice that age now. I've owned the property 18 years, and they were well established when I got here. But anyways, the pine tree beetles came in, and they started here on the southwest side of the property, of the neighborhood, and they just came through and demolished all of this person's property. And then they come into mine, and you can see how many pine trees I have that have no tops. The tops are out of them, and the reason that is because the pine beetles, once they attack a tree, they eat the top out of it basically, and then they work their way in and they kill the core of the tree, and then the tree's dead. The first storm we have, of course, this is Florida, so we have storms all the time, and all the tops come out of your pine trees like that. And there's nothing you can do. You can't stop them. I called forestry. I'd never seen them before. It was new to me. I called the forestry department. I know some people over there, and they were like, there's nothing you can do about it. It's just nature. I'm like, really? You can't spray or anything? And they're like, no. He said they're going to come through in a swarm, and they're just going to eat a path right through Florida, and they're going to work their way up into Georgia, and either they're going to hit water and die out, or they're going to continue on. So I went to Google, and I actually Googled pine tree beetles, and wow, the devastation, like in a real forest, is amazing. I mean, they literally bulldoze a trail right through a huge forest and just kill everything in their path, as long as it's a pine tree. They won't touch anything else. As you see, they didn't touch any of the other trees here. Everything that they ate was pine tree only. So, but anyways, we're back up here to the top of the hill, and so this is going to be kind of a sweeping left. I've got a lot of saw work to do. I'm just going to saw through here with the pole saw and open that up. Like I said, I want about 12 foot clear space so I can shoot this lane without having to worry about catching a tire off in the fence. But that's it. That's kind of an overview. I thought I didn't want to bore you with just a bunch of tractor stuff work, so I thought I'd kind of give you an explanation and a walk around, kind of see what it looks like in the daytime. And yeah, I've got about 12 hours in it so far. You know, just a couple hours here and a couple hours there. It's amazing what you can get done a little bit at a time. Tractor gets to earn its keep a little bit, so that's always nice. But yeah, it's dense. I mean, this is 18 years I've owned this property. I burned it off once, and that was 10 years ago. And you can see how dense it was when I started. I mean, you can't throw a stick through there. But yeah, I think it looks really good. Once this takes seed, where it's not going to be track, I'll mow it and I'll maintain it like the rest of the yard. But yeah, I got to tell you, I don't know where the other video I had to stop it at, but two attachments I put on my tractor when I bought it. They're both from palletforks.com. I'm not affiliated with them, not making anything off of it, but I'm going to share with you what they are because they were cheap and they were great attachments. I've never had to take them off the tractor. I bought a tooth bar, and so that's the teeth you see on the front of my tractor. Amazing tool. If you've got a tractor, you're going to want a tooth bar. And so you can do some pretty neat things. You see these lines like planter marks. That's where I go in with the teeth on the bucket. I bucket down and then I back drag, and I'll grab all the roots and the leaves and the sticks and the twigs, and I'll make a big pile here, and then I take those teeth on the other side and I roll that pile, and I roll it about 3 times to get all the dirt out of it, and then I push it up into my pile over there. No, it's not a root rake, and no, it's not a grapple, but it was only like a couple $100. I could add it to my bucket, and I didn't need Power Beyond or third function. If you don't know what that is, that's the hydraulic side of being able to clamshell or to use a grapple. My tractor does not have that. The other thing, the other attachment you see on my tractor that I bought is the fixed thumb. If you've got a backhoe, wow, I cannot express enough how handy a thumb is. I was looking into thumbs, and everything I saw on YouTube was you got to have a hydraulic thumb, and here's a $1,000 kit just for the hydraulics, and then you got to buy the thumb, and then you got to divert power and just all kinds of problems. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do all that. I just want a way to pinch material. And so you'll see in the video that I do a lot of that. I reach over and I'll grab a log and I'll pull it, and it's that thumb that allows me to do that. That grab material, I'll bring it to the tractor, and then I use the tractor for like a wrecker, and I'll haul the tree to where the pile is, and then I'll spin around and throw it up on the pile. Now I do have some forks, and I'll be using those real soon. I've got them sitting over there. I made some. They are the actual fork itself is a real fork, but I built the rack that the forks sit on. They were actually a discontinued set of forks. Uncle picked them up. Uncle Steve, if you're watching, thank you, sir. Not Uncle Larry, Uncle Steve. I got a couple of those. Uncles, that is. But anyways, Uncle Steve gave me those, and whoever used them, they drug them a lot, and forks get thin on the bottom, and if they get below a minimum thickness, OSHA says they can't be used commercially. So he was able to pick them up for me, and he just had them, and he was nice enough to give them to me. So thank you, Uncle Steve. I appreciate that. But I made a rack for him, and so I was able to attach them to the front of the tractor. Nothing fancy, angle iron mostly. 3-inch angle iron, I think, thick wall. But back to what I was saying, the two attachments that really make that tractor capable as it is the tooth bar. It allows you to dig into dirt, because it takes if you know tractors, if you don't know tractors, let me teach you some stuff, or let me tell you how it works. If you think about the front edge of your bucket, and so my bucket's 6 foot wide, the amount of force that I put into the ground is divided by 6 feet on that thin cutting edge. If you can take all of that force, whatever that X factor is, and put it on a smaller footprint, it'll be easier to dig into the ground. So it's like this. If you take your fist and you hit something, your fist isn't going to go through it. But you take a knife and you put it in your hand and you hit something, and that knife is going to go into it. And that's exactly the difference. You're the same strength, but you're able to force it into something because all of your strength is focused on a small point. Well, on the front of a tooth bar, on mine, I think there's 7 points. So instead of a 6 foot edge being forced into the ground, there's only 7 points, or 7 teeth, that are going into the ground. So that even a small 30 horsepower tractor, my last tractor was 30 horsepower, I put a tooth bar on it, and it made that tractor work like a tractor twice its size. So the first thing I did when I got my Kubota tractor was order a tooth bar for it. But the fixed thumb works really good. I welded that bracket on. That was a kit. I think I paid $90 for that thumb. It was all stamped steel. It was already cut out. It was basically a weld-on kit. If you know how to weld, it's completely adjustable. It's got 3 positions to position the thumb. And you can take the thumb off. The only part that's welded on the tractor is the mounting plate itself. Now, someone's going to say I shouldn't have welded onto the dipper, but if you know what you're doing, it's stitch welded. It's not a continuous weld, and it's never come off. It's been on there for 8 years, and I ain't gentle on it. As for the thumb itself, the thumb you can take off completely. It's pinned on, or you can retract it and pin it back. So it's really handy. But I'll tell you this: once you get it where you want it, like where I have mine, I've only taken it off once, and so to me, that's the mark of getting it right. It's not in the way. The only time it gets in my way is if I'm going really, really far out and I bring the bucket down and then try to grip. Sometimes that thumb a jab in the ground. Very rarely is that really a problem. What that tells me is I'm operating the tractor too far away. If I move the tractor 2 feet closer, the entire angle's different. The thumb is not in the way. I can grab what I want and I can pull it out. But that's it, folks. I appreciate it. I hope y'all like it. That's where we're at so far. 10 or 12 hours. I think another 10 or 12, which is going to take me another month or so, probably, or a month to finish it. I think we'll have the beginnings of a nice little track. I've got to get a box blade. I do not have one. But we'll do a box blade, and we'll start, laying it out that way and start smoothing it out and doing some grade work. Well, say hey, Chloe. You gonna say? You gonna speak? You don't speak. That's really not one of your tricks. What can you tell? What are your tricks, Chloe? Chloe doesn't do tricks. Chloe's trick, this is her best trick. She's got it down cold. I mean, it didn't take her long either. It was a real kind of a natural thing. She can make a cookie disappear. She can. That is her trick. Can't you, Chloe? Can't you? Yes, you can. That's Chloe's big trick. She can make cookies disappear. So, all right, y'all have a good one. I appreciate y'all being members. I hope y'all like the backside content, I guess you could say. And we'll keep it going and talk to you later. Bye.